Jillian Amadio is a licensed master social worker and adjunct psychology professor at Anne Arundel Community College. She provides mental health services to families and individuals and writes extensively on parenting and wellness. Dr. A.J. Marzin is an associate professor of psychology at Beacon College in Leesburg, Florida, the nation's first accredited college for students with learning differences. She specializes in cognitive neuroscience and educational psychology. Dr. Ryan C. Warner is a licensed clinical psychologist and CEO of R.C. Warner Consulting. Based in Texas, he equips families and organizations with practical strategies for resilience and inclusion. And we're going to begin our conversation with Jillian. Sandwich generation homes where parents care for both kids and older relatives are on the rise. What's one way to balance a neurodivergent child's need for movement with a neurodivergent grandparent's need for quiet?
Sure. So, the most important thing to remember is that no one family member deserves to have their needs met over the other. So, it's important that we recognize that every member of the family needs to have their needs met. And this can be as simple as offering designed spaces in the home that are equipped for movement and equipped for rest. So, this might mean that the public areas of the home, such as the basement, the playroom, the living room, family room, might be opportunities that have play or movement focused activities, whereas the private sections of the home, such as bedrooms, are more equipped for rest and quiet time. It can also be helpful to have a set routine so kids know when there's time for quiet and when there's time for activity. Quiet activities that involve movement, such as exercise that is age appropriate, or like swings, sensory swings, hammocks, even sensory bins, or quiet walks around the neighborhood together can really help.
All right, thank you. So, Dr. Marzin, many times mornings feel like a juggling act, but is there any routine that you can suggest that can help everyone in a neurodivergent family feel supported?
Absolutely, Daryl. First and foremost, do as much as you can the night before. So prepare as much as you can. Lay out the clothes, get the backpack ready. Maybe you want to make some overnight oats so you have an easy breakfast in the morning, something like that. But prepare as much as you can the night before so the morning doesn't feel so much like it's rushing. I would also suggest having a visual schedule posted someplace in the house that's a common area, maybe the kitchen or the living room. Have it color coded so each person has a color that they can look to be like, okay, what am I doing today? What's today's goal? What's today's outcome? What's on the schedule for today? And you can look at that for each family member so you know exactly who is supposed to be doing what and when they're supposed to be doing it. So that kind of helps organize your morning as well. And then I would also suggest each morning, in the thick of everything, when things are going kind of crazy, just take a quick 1 minute family check-in. This could be something like collectively as a family, you just take one big deep breath together and you exhale, and then you're refreshed, ready to start your day. Or it could be something like just a quick verbal check-in. What are you looking forward to today? What's on your agenda today that you're looking forward to the most? Something like that can also help kind of make a nice, easy morning and less rushing.
All right, good advice. Dr. Warner, if both parent and child struggle with focus and flexibility, what is a way that they can turn the shared challenge into teamwork instead of tension?
Yes, I know that this is a common challenge among a lot of families. I know, especially within my family, I have 3 children under 5 years old, and that's something we struggle with just every single day. And one thing we strive to do is how can we make this a team approach versus a personal approach? So, for instance, what we like to do in our household, it also would have shown clinically to be helpful, is how can we assign roles? Okay, how can we assign roles to the children and say, hey, your job is to watch the time. You're the timekeeper, right? And I'm the transition coach. I'm going to make sure that everything gets done on time. Right. And in turn, when we assign roles, now we are able to bring us together. We're able to identify the strengths that we all hold, and we're able to work together to accomplish a certain goal or mission. And that could be simply, hey, a house is really dirty and we need to work together to clean it up. Right. Instead of pointing blame, in turn, we can figure out, no, how can we come together to achieve this goal? So that's one shift that may occur when we look at it as a shared responsibility versus a personal challenge.
Jillian, so if parent and child both share neurodivergent traits. What are some phrases that older relatives can use that help support the needs of the parent and child rather than offering them that toughen up advice?
Yeah, just validating the needs and validating the emotions of the child or the parent can be really helpful. So sometimes we want to jump into pointing out like what's wrong or what's being disruptive. But if we can validate the emotion rather than the behavior, it can be really helpful. So something as simple as, oh, it seems like you're getting really overwhelmed. Would you like to take a walk with me? Is much better than, why are you being so loud? Can you calm down?
Dr. Marsden, you teach something called motivational interviewing. Can you tell us what that is, and can you give us one phrase that parents can use to encourage independence without nagging?
Absolutely, Daryl. So first, motivational interviewing, it's not like a job interview, right? You're not going in there and trying to figure out their personality traits or anything like that. But instead, it's collaborative, it's very goal focused. And the whole point of it is to pay attention to the language of change. It's really designed to strengthen our motivation and our commitment to a specific goal by kind of exploring our reasons for why we want that change, and then exploring those reasons with acceptance and compassion. So it's really all about, we want a change to occur. Why do we want that change to occur? And then how can we go about making sure that that change actually happens? And change occurs slowly. We know that, right? So when we use motivational interviewing, really it's more about trying to get the child or the other person in the house to tell you or explain to you their train of thought, right? How their actions are going to contribute to their final goal. So this works because you're not necessarily telling them what to do, but instead you're asking them, show me what you're thinking, or tell me what you're thinking. We have this problem, we have this goal that we're trying to get to. How do you think we should get there? And this puts some of the ownership of the process on them, and it allows them to think and problem solve on their own, and it really allows them to be independent, which is good.
All right, thank you. So, Dr. Warner, neurodivergent families often carry years of masking. What's one way for families to be able to create a safe space where they feel safe to be authentic from grandparent to child?
Yes, great question. So one thing that parents can do is start to normalize and approach difficult challenges and times, and emotional challenges that may arise. Oftentimes, right, when things get hard, we avoid. As human beings, that's our natural tendency. We try to mask it. We try to push it underneath the surface. We try to say, hey, this needs to be fixed right now because it's uncomfortable. However, if we take the opposite approach, instead approach those difficult times and emotional challenges that may arise, then we're opening the door to say, hey, no, this is okay. This is normalized, and let's work together to figure out what we can do to manage the current issue that's arising. So for instance, if a child is throwing a tantrum and they have hard time getting their emotions under control, we can say, hey, what's going on right now? How do we approach that with curiosity? Right. And so then now that opens a safe space and psychological safety within the home. They say, hey, if I'm struggling or feeling some type of emotional difficulties, it's okay for me to express that. It's okay for me to talk about what's going on and then label it so that in turn I can feel safe and open within my home. So that is one way that we can try to work through this, is to approach and not avoid.
All right, thank you. So, Jillian, if both the parent and a child struggle with anxiety or attention, what's one way that parents can model coping without shame to the child?
Sure, great question. One thing that I find really beneficial with a lot of families I work with is narrating. So let a child know what's going on in your brain. I'm feeling really overwhelmed. I think I'm going to go read a book or listen to music for a moment so I can de-stress before I resume this task. Oh my gosh, I'm super frustrated that I missed this deadline. I can't believe I did that. I know what I need to do next time. I'm going to make sure that I put it on my calendar a couple days ahead so that I don't forget. Or I'm feeling really sad today, and I'm going to do something that makes me happy. Would you like to come bake with me? Would you like to come craft with me? Identifying the emotion, acknowledging how you're feeling, either in your mind or body, and then telling your child or telling yourself out loud what you're going to do to address that need that you have, either mind or body, is going to help your child not only normalize the fact that our bodies and our mind feel different ways when we have different things going on around us, but it's also going to help them understand appropriate, safe, and healthy ways to make sure they're managing those emotions and those feelings appropriately.
All right, thank you. So, Dr. Marsden, how can a neurodivergent parent help a child who thinks and learns differently feel confident and capable even when school feels overwhelming?
That's a great question, Daryl. I mean, first and foremost, celebrate the little successes, right? No matter how big, no matter how small they are, celebrate the successes in life, right? Celebrate the effort. When you notice that they worked really, really hard on something, and even if the outcome wasn't an A, or it wasn't perfect, or everybody didn't gloat over it, or whatever it is, even if the outcome's not what you wanted, if they still put in a lot of effort, celebrate that effort. That's really important, that they celebrate the hard work that they put into something. So celebrate their successes and then build on their strengths. Really sit down with them and talk to them. What are you good at? What do you feel like your strengths are? And how can we carry those strengths over and generalize them to other situations, maybe outside of the home? Maybe at home, they're really, really good with time management or something like that. How can we take their time management skills and then pull it over or generalize it to the school setting, to the friend setting, to other settings that they have in their life that maybe they're not as good navigating those areas, but take their strengths that they have at home and carry them over to other areas. That can be really helpful. And then when they start using their strengths in other situations, that helps build their confidence, right? Also, by creating schedules and routines for them, it helps them know what's coming next, what they're supposed to do, and then it helps them stay on track so they can be more successful. When they have a routine, that also helps build their confidence. They know what they're supposed to do and they can feel accomplished when they're done with it.
Okay. So, Dr. Warner, how can parents bring psychological safety home so that everybody feels respected during tough conversations?
Yeah, so first, let's define psychological safety in the home. The way I look at psychological safety is no one gets punished for being honest. Okay, so if mistakes happen, how can we validate those mistakes? How can we learn from them, but not in turn point fingers and say that was wrong, never do it again? Because in turn, that's not really shown to be helpful and adaptive within the literature and the research. And when we look at the home within therapy, just right now, when I engage in psychotherapy with adults, they bring up these challenges, from 30, 40, 50 years ago, saying that when an issue arose, I did not feel comfortable going to my parents, right? So this can impact us throughout our entire lifespan. So what parents can do today within their home is, number one, they can say, this is a safe space, and they need to model that safe space. So when there's a mistake happens within the home, or when there's issues that arise, how can we be empathetic? How can we separate the fixing from the feeling? How can we say, what are you feeling right now? What is going on? How can we validate those emotions in a way that's adaptive versus maladaptive? So that's one thing I think about. And the second thing I think about is we as adults and parents need to also model our own emotional regulation. Okay, so I know when my kids, when they spill things on the floor, they break things, sometimes I jump to those conclusions. I then notice that my emotions begin to elevate very quickly. And I need to also, as a parent, regulate my emotions so that they can see, hey, this is a safe space. If I make a mistake, my dad is going to respond in a calm, empathetic way, right? So then when mistakes do happen, I feel more comfortable going to my parents. So those are two ways that maybe we can approach this to build that psychological safety within that home.
So, Jillian, if a neurodivergent child feels overwhelmed and has a meltdown, and the parent also feels overwhelmed, can you give us a step-by-step plan to restore calm to the household?
Yeah, sure. So I think we've all had these situations where our child is melting down, whether it be in the home or out in public, and we ourselves feel like we're on the verge of a breakdown as well, right? And the first step is just to recognize that it's okay. It's human to feel overwhelmed in an overwhelming situation. The second thing to remember is that as a parent or a caregiver, we are the emotional barometer for our child. So we have to work on co-regulation. We can't help our child regulate if we're not regulated ourselves. So the first first thing is safety. Is our child safe? They might be causing a scene. They might be being loud. They might be being disruptive. That's okay. Are they safe? If they're safe, it is okay for the parent to step away for a moment and gather their own thoughts. They can take a deep breath. They can go for a quick walk down the hallway. They can lock themselves in the bathroom for 30 seconds, whatever they need to get themselves ready to approach that situation with kindness, compassion, patience, and empathy. Go ahead and do that first and then re-enter that situation. Once you're there, validate the emotion. It seems like you're having a hard time. You seem really sad. You seem really angry. You seem really frustrated. Let them know that you see how they feel and how they feel is okay. And then work together. What can I do to help you through this? Can I sit with you? Can we go get a snack? Do you need to go move your body? It's okay to take things slow and recognize that we are all capable of regulating when given the space, the time, and the empathy to do so.
Great, thank you for that. So Dr. Marsden, when multiple generations live under the same household, can you give us some advice on how to set boundaries so that everybody's emotional and sensory needs are respected?
Of course. Living in a shared space can be very challenging, right? When you add in multiple generations and then you add in neurodivergency, it becomes even more challenging, but it's not impossible. So first and foremost, you have to respect one another, right? So, but just showing respect isn't enough. You actually have to communicate. So talk with them. If you know that something is going to be an issue, before it becomes an issue, before it blows up and goes crazy, stop and talk with the people living in your space and ask them, all right, this is the issue that I think we're going to have. Do you see that being an issue as well? And then how can we overcome that? There's going to be some compromises made, right? Not everybody's going to be 100% happy. So some people might just have to change their routine a little bit in order to compromise and appease other people. But in general, it really just comes down to communicate what you need and what you want and what you expect, and then come up with a plan on how to make sure that that happens to, decrease the craziness that's happening in the house. So don't make assumptions. Don't assume that people are going to come in and automatically know your routine and know why you're doing it, but instead explain why things have to be done a certain way. So you and your child, you might have a specific routine, and then a grandparent comes in to live with you and they could throw off that entire routine and they don't understand why. So explain to them what the routine is, why the routine is necessary, and then maybe they'll be able to understand that boundary and then respect it a little bit more. And then last, show gratitude for one another, right? You're sharing a space together. If somebody does something out of the ordinary, if they do the dishes, tell them thank you. So show a little bit of gratitude for sharing a space together and trying to make it, a happy area, a safe area.
All right, thank you for that. So Dr. Warner, what's one way to make sure that communication remains calm in a household and that small conflicts don't turn into big blow-ups?
So that can definitely be challenging, right? Especially if we don't tackle these issues when they occur head on. Because oftentimes when big blowups happen, what we try to do is we try to put out the fire as quick as possible. But when we do that, sometimes we don't get to the underlying issue of what's going on. Maybe someone doesn't feel heard. Maybe they feel that their thoughts don't matter. Maybe they don't feel like there's psychological safety to be their authentic self, right? Sometimes we push away and put things under the rug so we can have that quick fix. But in turn, we need to approach those difficult challenges. And if we slowly try to get underneath what's underneath the surface, and in turn identify, hey, what is really going on right now? I know there's a big blow up, but maybe in the surface is looked at as this is a very angry type of conversation we're having, all right? And it's very, it's a lot of conflict that's occurring. But in turn, maybe it's sadness. Maybe it's people that don't feel that their voice matters or don't feel that they're being heard, right? So we need to take that time to approach it and try to identify what's underneath the surface. And then we need to recognize sometimes when these big blowups happen, maybe we need a third party support, right? Maybe we need to go to family therapy. Maybe we need a non-biased approach to have someone come in to help us, solve these issues. So it's okay to seek out for support. It's okay to, in turn, recognize that you don't have to be alone. So those are some things that come to mind so that we can get on top of things, and we can identify what's really happening underneath the surface so that we can mitigate the impact that these blowups may have.
All right, well, that's going to be our last word today. Jillian Amadio, Dr. A.J. Marsden, and Dr. Ryan C. Warner. Thanks for the knowledge.